Welcome to Passionate Way Horsemanship, where the relationship with the horse is our greatest passion.
So yesterday I got to meet a new horse who was not only new to me, but new to his owners. And we got to do, and what gets to be done over the next couple of times I see him, is we get to go through what I call going through his box. And to me, that's probably one of the most fun parts about meeting a new horse that somebody that's introducing me to him doesn't even know. Because that means together we can explore what the horse might already know, what somebody else might already taught him, what, life has already shown him, like he was, hit or anything like that. Like, that's not the part of the going through the box. It's fun, but like this horse appears to have probably been a reining horse, because of certain things that he did that indicated that he probably was a reining horse. However, he does front crossovers clean and straight bodied instead of bending in the ribs. Or if I wanted a horse to do a front crossover to a front yield, I would want him to cross over, bend in the ribs, and basically bend his body into a C or into a 90 almost, and cross over and face the direction that I put his feet towards. This horse stayed straight, body stayed straight, and so there was something about the way he crossed over seemed very trained. And he's extremely sensitive to any direction. He's also a little surprised by hand movements and things like that. So I'm going to say that he probably experienced a little bit of a heavier handed training. He's also quite food driven. He's quick. He's fairly polite about it, but he does definitely get up in your space, but in a "hey, what do you got for me" kind of way, So that's another indication that that's something that we learn about him, and that make the decisions based on what we learn and what we would ask him to change. So when I do what I call going through a horse's box, is I treat it like there was a TV show. I'm not sure if it still exists. I never really watched it either, but I have the general idea of the show that called, I think, Storage Wars. And what it was like abandoned storage units that an auction team would come, and they had permission or legally could now sell the units. And what they would do is they would stand in the group of auction people participating in the auction, stand outside a closed unit, and the auctioneer would then auction, go through the auction process, and so they'd have no idea what they were going to buy, and then they get to go through the unit once they've won it. And it's cool to watch because they're like, they'll come across valuable artwork or silver or crystal or things, things like that, jewelry, or they'll come across just all crap, like somebody just bought a unit to, store their childhood bed in, So it's kind of neat to watch, like what you can. It's like it's like finding a treasure or not, and so I kind of equate that with this going through a horse's box thing. Is I like to see what the horse knows, what we think is valuable and certainly worth saving, and then things that we think are kind of tarnished but can be polished and still worth saving, or things that really aren't, like this kind of jumpiness, about when you move your hands around his face. It's kind of jumpy, like we'd want to try to help him understand that, if somebody was rough around your face, we're going to try to make you believe that that's not going to happen to you anymore, and hopefully that promise will be kept. It's not. And then like if we need to change anything, so like I would say, we'll polish that up, or, you know, we'll add parts to it, or we'll take parts away from it. So like that crossover, maybe we would prefer the horse bending in the ribs when we ask him for a front yield. Maybe just, you know, staying straight isn't something that we would utilize as much. So we would go ahead and ask the horse to now change something that he otherwise knew. I would consider that like polishing or repairing or adding parts too. So for me, that's probably one of the most fun things about like working with rescue horses, working with horses that are newly acquired with not much of a history disclosed. And I would say that that's probably one of my favorite parts about working with an older horse, is working with ones that people don't really know much about, and we get to go through their box and discover all the things that they knew or didn't know, things that they've been trained to do. Like I had a 13-year-old Morgan who was a breeding stallion until he was 11. And he was probably my coolest one. Like, he's the one I remember the most, I should say, as far as going through his box, because it's like certain commands that I used for different things had a much different definition for him. But what we were discovering was kind of like his show career was showing up in those moments. So like, if I snap my fingers or something, he'd bark out. And so that was kind of cool, like learning all the different commands that maybe were for his show career. And was it important to us to make the over to the mounting block done by a snap of the finger, or can we give that a whole new word for that definition? Because the parking out thing was kind of neat. Not that it was valuable to the new owner, but it was kind of neat to have. You know, he would get all up into his, you know, stretched out pose, and it was kind of neat to see him do. And it seemed, being that it was like kind of a stretched out, proud thing, did we want to take that away from him? I didn't want to take it away from him, so we just came up with something else for his coming to the mounting block. If you have a rescue horse or a horse that's new to you that you don't know a lot about, I would love to help you go through your horse's box and see what he knows, what he doesn't know, and see how we can help him with the things that he does know and repurpose them, right? I mean, that's the cool thing, is like the whole parking out thing. Like, we could repurpose that and use it some other way. You know, I wouldn't want to mount a horse that's all stretched out like that. I would be afraid I'd hurt his back, so I wouldn't use that as the mounting thing anymore. I would, like I said, give him something else to associate mounting, you know, with. So anyway, definitely a shout out to anybody that has a new horse to them or a rescue and doesn't know a lot about him, but is interested in taking the time to really see what the horse already has known through his life, and you know, especially an abused, not especially abused horse, but like helping an abused horse learn that part of his life is over, and you know, getting in his head and finding out, like, through his responses to things, what might have been done to him, and then how much damage is there, and how much work it would take to convince him that we don't have to do this anymore, you don't have to feel that way anymore. And like this horse yesterday, he was very, very unconfident to standing still, right? And it wasn't because standing still wasn't something he probably knew. He probably knew how to ground tie, but he wasn't sure if he should be doing something, and that's not uncommon, but he wasn't sure if he should be doing something. So he kept moving his feet, right? And, you know, one of the things that once we started really working with him and really explaining to him that we're here to have a conversation with him, I pointed out to the owner, I said, "Do you notice anything?" And it was because he no longer had that anxiety in his feet. He no longer was looking for an answer in his feet. He actually was waiting for us to tell him what we wanted from him next. And that was really a lot of fun to see something like a horse that was feeling a lot of anxiety, feeling a lot of, I think I should be doing something. And it's usually because they're made to guess a lot in their in their education. They're like kissing for forward, kissing for going back, kissing for coming to me, kissing or clucking, whichever, where the horse was made to guess, like, what does it mean this time, and that kind of thing. So it's fun too to work with owners where the language is being established, where we can erase anything that he knew and get him to understand what you want from him through this new language. So like that's even fun to teach a horse and an owner how to create a black and white relationship. Like, I want my relationships with my horses to be black and white. I don't like any gray in my relationship. He's going to step over because he wants me to scratch his butt. I'm not scratching your butt. I'll do your belly real quick. Yeah, so anyway, this is kind of a shout out to anybody who has a new horse or a rescue horse, and they want to like kind of weed out some of the stuff that they'd like to change about the horse and how we would go about that, and just learning what the horse might already know, kind of discovering their buttons. It's kind of like buying something without the owner's manual, where you just kind of poke here and push this button there and see what it does. That's kind of what it's like also. So anyway, I'm going to get off here because I only have one more horse to water, and then I got to roll up my hose and start the rest of my day. So everybody have a great day, and thanks for checking in. Bye.